Alright, we are back. Recently, I did a poll where I asked you guys what were some guide ideas that you guys had for me that I could make, and you guys gave me a lot. So we've been slowly going through the list. So today what we're going to be talking about is when I like to jab, the hit confirm options off of it, and some combos you can do and stuff like that. So yeah, let's get straight to it. Alright, so now that we're in training mode, you might notice something a little sick. If you guys didn't notice, this brand new Terry mod right here. This mod right here, I actually had commissioned. It was a colorway that I thought would look sick, blue and white. So yeah, this is our own custom UltraSnance Terry mod. And yeah, you guys are absolutely allowed to download it as well. There's a link for it down below. Definitely check out the creator, Avarice, who created this. He is not only amazing at what he does, he's also an amazing player. So definitely check out his stuff, and thanks again to him. But yeah, let's just get started. So I've had this question a few different times, not only just on the I picked the wrong character. Ken is just going to be yapping for like an hour. Hold on. I need him to shut up. All right, so I've had this question a few different times actually asked, not just on the poll, but also a few different times in comments and on like stream, like while I'm streaming playing matches. And I think the main question kind of comes from, where do I use jabs specifically? So I definitely will be answering that today, but I also want to touch on a few different uses for Terry's jab and stuff like that as well. Some of the information in this video will help for any character when it comes to like where to use jabs and stuff like that if you have a 4-framer like Terry. But some of this information when it comes to like hit confirming stuff like that is a little bit more Terry focused, but it's all right. That's what we're here for, baby. All right, so to start us off, I think a lot of people do get kind of stuck in this idea that their strong normals, considering like their strongest pokes and stuff like that, and their most reliable whiff punish buttons are kind of like the main options you should be using in neutral. You know, like I find a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, I know medium punch from Terry is really good because it's drive rush cancelable. I can poke with medium kick. And obviously, once I get up close, I can do like heavy punch or something like that. Honestly, the main use that I've seen like a lot of new players using lights is mainly like on pressure. If they're trying to either like tick throw, or maybe they're trying to like open the player up with a bunch of hits. That is absolutely a use for this, obviously. You know, lights are great at kind of hitting a few last hits here and checking to see if the opponent's blocking low, or maybe you want to test to see if they're mashing. You know, like it's a good, fast, reliable hit on pressure for sure, and it has a lot of uses when it comes to that. But one of the main uses that I think a lot of people forget about mid-screen is just about how good it is at interrupting more committal moves. So obviously when you're sitting in a range like this, you might just be thinking, okay, obviously, you know, I'm at like medium or heavy kick range, I should probably just be using those options. But the thing is, one of the other options that's pretty underrated is a jab, actually. And the main reason for that is because, think about what we just said before. What is the most reliable option, and what are you trying to space out for at this range? You know, it's usually medium kicks, you know, pokes, heavy kicks, whatever your option is. For Shoto's typically like heavy punch. So think about that, right? That's typically the option that people are going to want to be using in that area because how strong it is, how much range it covers, and usually because either it's poking or because they can drive rush in. So why should you use a light jab or something like that? I think it's because most of these options that we talked about, you know, like a more committal option, like a poke or stuff like this, are a lot higher in frame counts if you look at it. We got medium kick over here at 9 frames, Terry's heavy kick sitting at 12 frames, so a lot more committal options, obviously. Let's say you find a opponent that you're fighting is pretty confident when it comes to just walking up in your face and hitting these options, right? That's what he wants to do. He wants to space himself away and hit these options. If you pick up on that, then you can absolutely start utilizing jab. Because obviously, I think, you know, one of the main things you'll want to do is get comfortable at like learning ranges when people, you know, whiff big normals. So then you can whiff punish, right? Whiff punishing is a big part of this game. But you also don't have to wait. This game is not entirely just waiting. You also are allowed to walk up and take your turn. So for instance, let's say that he was gonna heavy kick here and I had an idea. Now, obviously, don't imagine he's jumping. I'm just doing that so it makes it a little bit more obvious. In fact, let me do something like this. I'll just have him walk back. You know, something like this. You can kind of fish for it. What we're fishing for here is that counter hit there, right? Because we're going to get a lot of damage off that we can hit confirm. But even if we don't get that, and let's say he wasn't blocking, even if he is blocking, you're safe. It's a jab. It's -1, right? You know, even on block, you're chilling, right? So there's not really too much of a threat of throwing this out there, even if they didn't press anything. I mean, it's -1 on block. On hit, you're going to be able to string a few more lights and, you know, possibly do like a basic combo or something like that. Or honestly, if you're more ready, you can, you know, do burn knuckle after low light. So there's plenty of stuff you could do there, right? But the main thing we're looking for here is walking up and trying to hit confirm someone doing a more committal option, right? You know, maybe they're poking and getting that little counter hit, right? The main reason for that is because Terry has really good options off of this, and he can hit confirm pretty easily with just some decent practice, and you can get a lot off of this. This is one of the main ones I do, just going into the little safe jump. You know, you could do stand light, and the reason I was able to do that is because obviously I hit my counter hit, and once you hit that counter hit off of stand light, you can hit confirm a few different options. Now, I actually wait a second. Now, I wait a second after I do it, and then I press another button. I press my crouch medium punch. And this takes a little bit of practice, but it is absolutely doable with some practice. I genuinely think that you have a lot of time to hit confirm stuff like this. Like, I'm waiting, and it's pretty easy there, genuinely. Like, let's say you had him, like, you know, random block. You know, like, look at that. It's knocked out. And even if you do a crouch medium punch, you know, every once in a while, it's not that big of a deal, you know? Because even though it's punishable, unless the opponent's like mashing outside of that, you're probably not going to get punished anyway. So what you're looking for, obviously, is this counter hit. And once you get that off, you have a few different options, right? So we started to see some of the more uses of walk-up jab and stuff like that, right? The reason I like this option is because it gives you a little bit more than just, well, I'm in this range, I know what I'm going to do every single time. Like, you know, you don't want to get too predictable. You know, if you start doing high committal options like pokes and stuff like this, you never know. Maybe the opponent might start DIing you, right? So going for jabs like this is just adding more options that you can use that trick up the opponent and giving you more variety, obviously, in your game plan. And allows you to be a little bit more aggressive, right? So now that we've gotten onto the idea of why we're going to use this, and I've showed you that you can hit confirm this option, I want to show you the options that I like to use when I do hit confirm. So one of the main ones when I get stand light, I showed it before, is going into crouch medium punch. That one's really reliable. Obviously, we can do a medium power charge here, and if you slightly delay, I'm going to set him to wake up rising OD tackle. If you delay slightly, you can get a little safe jump here, which is really nice. One of the other options I really like as well is doing medium burn knuckle, dash up, plus 11 in their face, which is really good. That just gives you plenty of time to do whatever the hell you want to do. So for instance, you can manually time a throw. You can shimmy a throw. And you can even hit a meaty, obviously your heavy punch, which is one of the main uses as well. Boom, +1. And then obviously if it hits, you know what we're getting with this. You know, you could do something else like that, something simple. Obviously you can experiment a little bit more with that. But the reason I like this option so much is you can already tell there's a bit of variety when it comes to the options that you get to do. Right? There's so many different things that you can do off of this. One of the other ones is this right here. Yeah, but I love this option. I think it's a really good option to allow you to continue playing in neutral with a little bit more confidence and allowing you to not just walk back and wait for the opponent to whiff a button the entire time. Because if you're scared of, you know, whiffing your normal from really far away and maybe the opponent's catching you on that pretty often, then hey, sometimes the trick is to just get a little bit closer and catch them before they can even throw out something committal in the first place, right? So now we've talked as well about some of the options that you can do after this. How about we talk about what happens if they block it, right? Let's say they block here. Nice thing about jabs with Terry and a lot of characters as well is, like I said, these are pretty safe for the most part, right? -1. So if you notice that nothing's happening, you know, you're not able to hit confirm, you're not getting anything, you're chilling, you're -1. However, if you want to continue the pressure, obviously, you can drive rush up, which is really nice. Drive rush in their face, get +3. So obviously you go for like a tick throw, just go for a throw. Great shimmy. So yeah, jabs are godlike. So yeah, if you're ever thinking, what do I use my 4-frame or my little jab for other than for little light confirmed combos, this is the main use that I find for it that I think has really upped my game plan, honestly. For a while, I really was just committing to larger, more higher committal options, and anytime they would whiff, I would just feel so I would just lose all my confidence and start feeling like I really needed to just work on my footsies. And while that was pretty true, once I encountered this option, obviously, like using it a bit more confidently, it allowed me to realize that it's okay to have options miss up, because as long as you have other options that you can cycle through, then you're usually in a good spot. So yeah, hope this guide helped you guys out. Alright, so that's basically it today. Hope that helped you guys out. That's basically going to be it for me today. So yeah, that's going to be it. I'm out. Peace.